For those of you who are just joining us and I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, I'm the president and CEO of Focus St. Louis and the director of Leadership St. Louis. Joining me today, for those of you who may have missed her introduction, I'll let Kate introduce herself before we get started.
Hi, I'm Kate Hanford. I've been with Focus for just over 2 years now. I enjoy supporting Leadership St. Louis, Women in Leadership, and Youth Leadership St. Louis. It's a really great group, and Focus has such an amazing reach and alumni. That's my favorite part of my job, just meeting all of you and connecting with you guys. I learned something from everybody, and at every session, I get the privilege to attend and support.
Thank you, Kate. That is the beauty of Focus. There really isn't anywhere that you would go that you will not run into a Focus friend or a Focus alum. I was at a meeting, a coffee meeting this morning, and as we were leaving, the person said, generally we end up running into a lot of Focus friends and alum. No sooner had he said that, Focus alum walked in the door, another one that was seated heard my voice and said hello. So that is the beauty of our 11,000 plus network. 75% of those individuals still reside in town, which is awesome. Kate, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to start sharing our PowerPoint. We'll start from agenda just to walk you through what we will cover today. I'll go over the highlight of what Leadership St. Louis is about and share with you important details about the application, important dates that you need to know, and then we'll get a chance to hear from 3 of our esteemed alums, Matt Temple, Latrina Rogers, and Muriel Smith. They'll tell you about their experience. I'll moderate a short conversation with them, and then we'll open it up for questions. We'll open it up for questions from you. So with that said, we were going to show you a video, but we're having sound issues today, so we're going to skip over that. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Focus St. Louis, we are the region's premier civic leadership organization. We have a collective history of 50 plus years. At one point, it was just Confluence St. Louis and Leadership St. Louis. But since then, we have gone on to add additional programs, which some of you may be familiar with or be graduates of. Kate Hanford was sharing with the team earlier about the Youth Leadership St. Louis program, which is for juniors in high school that she supports. The Women in Leadership program, which is for early to mid-career women. Again, Kate also supports that program. And then Leadership St. Louis that we are here to talk about. We also have a program for new executives in town, Experience St. Louis, and it's a 2-day high-level orientation for new executives and their spouses and partners to town. Another program that we have is I feel like I'm skipping one, Emerging Leaders program, which is for young professionals in town up to the age of about 37 years old. Again, they're early to mid-career professionals. And those programs that I mentioned, except for our youth leadership program, which runs about 9 months, we offer those programs in the fall, in the spring. The Leadership St. Louis program that we are gathered here for you to learn more about was actually founded in 1976. And that program has senior level executives that run the gamut of different sectors. It's just not nonprofit, it's corporate, it's government, you name it, that we have in our program. And over the course of the time that they're in the program, they get an opportunity to understand St. Louis's region. What are the issues? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities that exist in our region? And our expectation and goal for people who participate in our program is not just to be educated on the issues, but we want them to get to deepen their relationship with each other in a way that they can go on to collaborate on projects and be connected with each other. Matt Temple, that you'll be hearing from a little later on. Matt, I was in a meeting yesterday and someone mentioned your name and said, "Oh, yes, you do know Matt Temple." And I said, "Absolutely, I know Matt." And that's just the beauty of St. Louis. It was actually Jason Carter, who was also in your class, that was mentioning your name. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you now have the network to do more in our region on various issues. As I mentioned before, it's a 9-month program. We have 1 or 2 full day sessions, and it runs from September to May. You've seen the dates for 2024, 25. If you're going to apply for the program, check your calendar. Although you don't know whether you're going to get into the program now, I suggest that you put those dates on your calendar now. A question that I often get from individuals that go through our program is, are we going to be working on a project? We don't dictate that you work on a project while you are in the program. Our piece is about educating you about the challenging issues in our region, connecting you to a network in which you can then go on and work on projects or go on to serve on boards that you have not thought of before. Kate, could you advance to the next slide, please? So there is our program schedule. I feel like I skipped over. Did we skip over something? Could you go back? I feel like we skipped over a slide there. In case you're wondering who should apply, as I mentioned before, seasoned professionals who hold significant roles in their community or in their company, individuals who are looking to gain insights into the issues in our community, and individuals, we don't really define personal leadership, what that needs to look like, because we believe that everyone is a leader. So you define yourself however you want to. But we also want individuals who have aspirations to work collaboratively with peers to address any number of civic and social issues. And the beauty of the LSL program is the diversity of perspectives, the diversity in terms of experiences that people bring to the program, and their knowledge, not just about the issues, but their knowledge within their respective organizations. It is not uncommon for us to have a program day that we have someone who gives us deep insight from a personal level that they have experienced some form of what we are talking about. And the last piece there is commit to attending all scheduled program days. Hence my reason for suggesting that you go ahead and put those dates on your calendar right now, even though you don't know if you will be admitted to the program. See, being at each one of those program days not only brings your perspective to share with your fellow classmates, but also you can take away from it in terms of something that you could utilize the minute you leave the program. So commitment to attending is really a lion's share of getting the most out of that program of ours. So next slide, please. So program schedule is outlined below, and we will share with you at our opening retreat in September what topics that we will be covering in each program day. I'll give you a preview of this year's different seminars that we've covered today. So September 6th and 7th is generally opening retreat. October 4th this year, I'm trying to think what did we do, but just in terms of things that we've done, we focused on economic development, we focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Last week, we actually had our education program day that we focused on. We have a program day coming up in February that we're going to get an opportunity to visit Scott Air Force Base the first half of the day. And the second half of the day, we're going to focus on criminal justice system. We have a day that we're going to focus on government. What does that look like? And then we have a day that we're going to focus on healthcare. And our May dates are generally our closing retreat. And that should actually read May 2025. We have the focus graduation, whereby we get an opportunity to meet with participants from our other program. And every year we have close to about 300 people that graduate from our program. So that's a quick overview of what the program schedule looks like. Kate, next slide, please. So what do you gain out of the program? A deeper understanding, as deep as we possibly could go, of St. Louis. Again, as I said earlier, challenges, the opportunities. I'm much more focused on what the opportunities and the possibilities are. Also get unparalleled exposure to civic, business, and community leaders, some of which may be in the class. Others will be bringing them to you as individuals that we'll be hearing from on different panels. We also start to dive into how do you lead difficult and challenging conversations around equity. Everyone is at a different point in the continuum. And there's much to be said about listening, and there's much to be said about sharing your perspective so you can come to better understanding. I touched upon improved collaboration on not just solving issues, but improved collaboration at work. There might be some things that you experience or that you hear from the panel that we bring in front of you that you learn as a result of that. Now, the biggest part of growing through our program is the lasting relationships. I can't tell you how many people would say, you know, in my class, we still do dinners. We actually have alumni dinners that we organize for individuals to go through. But that network is important. And the beauty of it is you can pick up the phone and call each other anytime for a number of things. And perhaps the final one is just a greater sense of understanding and responsibility to not just the present, but the future in terms of what you do. Muriel Smith, that you'll hear from a little later on or shortly. I remember when Muriel went through our program, and I remember the conversations, the hallway conversations that we had. They were powerful, and they've shaped her career, and she continues to stay involved and engaged by hosting any number of our programs to either come and meet in her space or to be a speaker to them. You can advance to the next slide. So our tuition you have in front of you there. We find over the course of our program that some are covered by employers and some are covered by individuals. But we, recognizing that people are at different points in their career, we offer partial need-based financial aid. And so that's something that individuals don't find out about until they've been admitted to the program and they apply for it. And we take a look at that, committee meets and provides recommendations on that. So once you've been accepted into the program, if you want to apply for a scholarship, you'll get a link in the application letter, application notification. You apply for it then. There is a deadline, so pay attention to that. We have scholarships through an LSL endowment that's been provided by previous classes, but also the Betty Thompson Scholarship provided by Kwame Charitable Foundation. And they have a legacy. Kwame Charitable Foundation has a legacy of having sent people through the program. Betty Thompson is an alum, rest in peace, of our program. And so is her son, and so is her granddaughter. So we have families that have gone through our programs at any one point in time. Next slide, please. Important dates for you to know. The application deadline is March 22nd. The application is already open. You can go ahead and apply for it. The interview day, set that date is important, and it is all through virtual interviews. Program participants are notified May 6th. Sometimes we actually do the notification earlier than that. And the expectation is for individuals to let us know if they will do the program by sending us the program agreement by end of May. And more to come on that. Nomination, people come through our program through various ways, nominated by LSL participants, nominated by friends, nominated by supervisors, but the nomination deadline is March 1st, but individuals can also self-nominate as well. So that is an overview of our program. And now I would like to transition to hearing more from our alums who are joining us here today. Muriel Smith is joining us, Matt Temple is joining us, and Latrina Rogers are joining us. I'll let them introduce themselves before we dive into our Q&A. So we will start with Muriel. Hi, Muriel. How are you?
Good. Hi, Amy. I'm Muriel Smith. I am the Executive Director of the St. Louis Diaper Bank and a graduate of two of the Focus St. Louis programs. So Women in Leadership, and then also Leadership St. Louis.
Matt?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Matt Temple. I am with United Healthcare, and I was graduate of the previous Leadership St. Louis class 47, and I live in Kirkwood. Been a lifelong St. Louisan. Was very excited to have that opportunity to participate in Leadership St. Louis, and married to my wife of 12 years and have 9-year-old and 7-year-old daughters. And I am happy to be included on this call. So thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Matt. Latrina, introduce
Latrina
yourself.
had to.
everyone.
Okay, good.
I made it, Kate. Hello, everyone. I'm Latrina Rogers. I am the recruitment specialist with Rung for Women. I graduated from the cohort 47 of Leadership St. Louis, best class ever. And Leadership St. Louis has been such a benefit to me in so many ways. Of course, the network. Because they feel more like friends than a network of people. So if you decide to embark on this journey, there should be a dialogue about equity and equality that breaks down barriers and gives enlightenment. So I cannot stress to you enough that this is a benefit. The Focus St. Louis organization has been a great benefit to me in my career, because where I am now is not the employer I was with when I started.
Right. Thank you, Latrina. So let's dive into a few questions here. What would you say is the most memorable part of your Leadership St. Louis experience? And I'll start with Matt, and then Muriel, and then Latrina.
Okay. Well, I hadn't really put a lot of pen to paper on some of these questions because I wanted to happen organically. And so the most memorable, I would take you to the very last session. And, we spent a lot of time together talking, and, Latrina and I were in the same class, and we did a lot of work together and hanging out. And I just remember at the end of that class, you and me sharing a hug in the middle of the circle. And, I felt really touched by that, and I felt like we'd come a long way just in our friendship in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
And I felt like this is really what I came to do, is establish these kind of interpersonal connections. And so that was my most memorable thing that I took away from it, was sort of the big payoff at the end. Not that we're, you know, finished with Focus or Leadership St. Louis, but at the end of that program, that was definitely something where I felt, proud to have made a new friend, and made a lot of new friends, but specifically that was a special time for me. So, Latrina, shout out, and
Awesome.
yeah.
Wow, I'm almost getting teary-eyed. I have to go back
I
and look at my
know.
photos, because I think I took a picture of that moment. So yeah, so thank you. Muriel.
Yeah, I think the most memorable, and I don't know if I can say it's like one specific moment. I do have two specific sessions that I'm thinking of, but I think just for me, it was a couple of sessions that had to do with like racial equity and diversity, equity, inclusion. That were just very high emotions that were happening in the room across the board from different people, from different perspectives. And that was, I didn't expect that, I guess, that people just the way that people kind of took all that information in, good or bad, but the emotions were very high. And then I would say another moment that sticks out was, I forget the name of the day, but it was the day that we, I guess it was the day about law enforcement, and that day, but where we met with the then county, St. Louis County chief, and that was after Michael Brown. And again, emotions were very high. People had, lots of deep emotions and thoughts about what was being said, and interactions. So I think that for me is just like not knowing that would be part of Leadership St. Louis, that you think you'll learn about, different things about St. Louis and about yourself, leadership styles and all of that, but just being so deeply, the experiences being so deeply emotional for people, is just what sticks out to me about my whole experience.
Thank you, Muriel. Latrina.
All right. So definitely the moment between Matt and I is my top thing. And not just because of that hug. For those who were there, like Amy and Kate, we and Muriel talks about the high emotions, because of course there's always something going on in the world and something going on in St. Louis. And so those discussions of racial equity and diversity, equity and inclusion, they are always pinpointed in every day that the meetings go on. And it's always not directly, like you'll see it in organizations talking about infrastructure and where things are located and how they're, located. So I was warned that, every session you might get angry. You might get, your emotions may be high, and that all of those things did happen, but also I had the privilege of being able to share my experience as a Black female St. Louis native to people who were transplants who didn't understand. We had a woman who was born a military child, and she lived in Texas. She had not experienced the discrimination that I experienced in St. Louis. So people were deconstructing what they knew, what they thought they knew. Matt was one of those people. Matt was very intentional about deconstructing what he knew. I mean, he was reading books that weren't even recommended yet, so he was very much involved in that. And I think that's what kind of drew me to talk to Matt more, because he was so open and willing to learn, and he wanted honest feedback and honest perspective. And so all of those meetings in those moments, and there are other moments that we had that were like, oh my gosh, we've had some traumatic meetings, but all of those moments led up to that hug between Matt and I, because we recognized how hard it was for each of us to not only learn something new, but share perspectives. So that's my favorite thing about Focus.
Thank you, Latrina. So I'm thinking as talking here, one of the things about Focus, and maybe it should be a tagline, is expect the unexpected, because we're all dealing with human beings and their life experiences that is always varied. And it's a way, one of the things that we've started to talk about within the context of our program is approaching things from a system perspective. How can we make change? And that's very important. Kate, I know a couple of questions have come in, so I'm going to let you unmute and ask those questions for our panelists. I could keep going on, but I know them. So this is for you guys to ask them questions.
One question that came through, and I think it's really well structured. What would something be a best way to prepare for the journey before embarking? So there's a couple of components to that question: preparation and understanding that it's a journey. I will cue Muriel, Latrina, Matt.
Okay.
I honestly don't know how much you can prepare yourself, other than obviously, us giving, talking about our experience, so you kind of have some idea of what to expect. I think you just need to go into it with an open mind and open heart, with no sort of notions about what's going to happen or what you're going to learn, and just let the experience and the journey that you're on just take you away, and take you to wherever you end up getting, you end up being at the end of the journey, because it's, can't predict what's going to happen, and that makes the experience much more natural if you just go into it knowing that it's a learning experience, and that you hopefully and might come out changed on the other side of it.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with Muriel. Open heart, open mind. I know when I first heard of Leadership St. Louis, it was really through a nomination from an alumni. And I thought, oh, it's a leadership program. You're going to be trained in these leadership styles. You're going to get to network. And that's what I thought it was. I had no idea of the emotional piece involved. And it really comes with the discussions that come up. But I learned that from a different alumni who told me, you're going to probably be in tears. You're probably going to be angry because you're going to learn some of the backstage pieces of St. Louis infrastructure, what's needed, why these things are needed, and the systematic piece that we need to work on as a region. And you have to be open. There is no preparation other than that. Be willing to share, be willing to learn, be willing to accept that what you thought was one way is absolutely not that way once you see it. And that's pretty much what you can do. Just be open. And as Yami said, expect the unexpected.
Mm-hmm. I would just add to that, don't be nervous, Like, don't be nervous going into the interview calls. I mean, if you're a fit for the program, then you're gonna know, and the people that you talk to are gonna know right away. And if you're not, but you want to get involved in something like Leadership St. Louis, something else will come your way. But just identifying that you want to be, more active and be part of, um, the solution versus someone who just sits around and talks about things, or complains about things is admirable. And, I think that means a lot. Um, I would clear your schedule after the days, because, the happy hours are important. That's where a lot of, like, the relationships are built with everybody in your class, and that's where a lot of the the deeper dive in some of these conversations happen after, some people have a few drinks, or, at least, it's more casual setting, and people feel free to let their hair down a little bit more. But I would also just, like, flip your perspective on, this is something that's a time commitment. To, if this is something that you get selected to do, it is a something that you get to do. And, the time will you will find the time, and it'll be worth it. And it's important because, I mean, we talk a lot about our own personal journeys, but the product of this class is immense. There's so many connections that have, been built in these classes and across classes and in focus in general, that what what you're getting out of it is, it's big for you, but it's also big for St. Louis, and it is big for the region. And you start to see that people are really making a difference. And it's this is a big part of, a big way to facilitate that. And, that was one thing that I found to be, really enlightening, is that just how much certain people are doing that I had no idea about. So be ready to have more opportunities come your way to get involved with stuff or do things than you can even take on. I mean, there really, it is, almost to the point where you have to be selective about what you can get involved in moving through the class and afterwards. So you start to think, a lot of things have happened because of Leadership St. Louis. And even, Muriel, when I saw your name, I realized I've met you one time before, because of the person who recommended me for Leadership St. Louis was in your class, and you all were part of the LaSalle Middle School. And, I think you interviewed me for a board position there right before you took a new position. But that was all because of a connection with my friend Severe that was in your class. And so, more things happening as a result of this than you even know. I mean, I wish there was a way to quantify everything for Yami so she could, market that. But, if you could, it would be incredible. So
I love that everyone's theme was openness. I appreciate that. Also, I would just want to add that I think it's in stages. So it is a journey at this stage of your journey. Interest in knowing that it's community engagement, prior to the selection day process, preparing for program day to program day. And the panel's going to laugh because they know me. Read my emails. That's a good way to prepare. They're bullet pointed, dress for the weather, where you're going, but also just uninhibited to ask questions. Like Matt was saying, some people get kind of in their head or overthink things, and that those personal connections, because it's a big class, right, Yami? We usually have around 60 people, and those impactful personal connections happen on a one-to-one basis. So make time for that connections for coffee and being present. Everything's about timing. So preparation is preparing your calendar, preparing your support systems, so preparing your employer, that this is a commitment to me and I think it's important. And do I have your support? One of the questions, just to kind of encapsulate, does a recommendation have to be from an employer? No, it does not, but it does show us that you have support from your employer, and it shows them, you know, the qualities, they're reflecting on it, kind of putting that into action for everybody. So thank you for that. Trisha asked a question, and I kind of think I know what you're getting at, but if you wanted to clarify, suggested supports from monthly seminars, connecting the dots. Amy, if you want to tackle some of that, but Trisha, if you want to clarify, you're not talking just about homework, you're talking about themes and threads, right?
Yes, exactly, Kate. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my question is, even before I heard everyone talking about the emotions and all of the evoking components that come with it, that month-to-month time frame could seem expensive when you've wrapped up a great session and you're fueled with emotion. So are there support groups? Are there opportunities to communicate with the fellow participants before you get to your next session? And if not, what did some of the current panel members do during that off time?
I think Latrina had her hand up to
Yeah.
respond to that question. Yes.
So Matt mentioned the happy hours. Now, you don't, if you don't drink, you don't have to drink at the happy hours, but that is the most casual setting because things are fresh for you to engage in conversation and do the deep dive because, you know, everybody's busy. You know, people have families, they're taking care of aging parents. There's all kinds of things. So when we talk about that time commitment, you know, even you take that full day, you're not at your job, but even afterwards, giving some time to that happy hour if possible. You may not be able to do it every time, but if you can do it more often than not, it serves as a great opportunity to go through the day and what you took away, what you can't believe happened. Why didn't they address this? We should address this while in discussion with each other, because between the program day and everything you partake in and the email you get from Kate prior to program day, that also has resources about the day and the subject matter. There's all kinds of resources that are available to kind of prep you, just give you some context to the subject. But those coffee dates with people, like I didn't get a chance to do coffee dates with Matt. Matt has a family, has children. I have a crazy busy life, but the happy hours were where we were able to connect and stay connected. And, you know, we have a Facebook group. We stay connected that way. So those are the opportunities. If you can do connections one-on-one, it's great. But oftentimes when you're in the throes of the program, the happy hour is the best opportunity to really kind of chat it up. And then those happy hours will turn from, you'll start chatting about that, then it'll go to the building of the friendships and the camaraderie. So that's the best opportunity.
I would also add that.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just going to add that if you know anybody that has been in Leadership St. Louis or gone through the program, they're really good resources to talk to. I mean, I know I have several friends that did, and I would call them after every session and like, let me break down everything that we talked about. And that's a really good resource, because otherwise, just prepare if you have like a significant other or a best friend that you talk to a lot, that this is going to be a big, thing on your mind, because, usually the sessions are on Fridays or Saturdays. So you have, sort of some runway to talk about post session notes and things like that, because it's the weekend. Or but I found that there's a lot said about the time commitment, but it seems to work out. a lot of the sessions are during the day, during business hours. There's, one or two a month at the most. And so I found that time commitment is not as, how do I put this? Not as hard to manage as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
There was another question about time commitment. They are full day sessions. The program days in advance. My mother always said, what you put into something is what you get out of it. So the more relationship building that you do, coffees before the session begins. We actually have an introductory meeting in June. So that's a good way to kind of a runway to the program. Muriel, I wanted to see if you had any suggestions for connecting the dots, but also there was a question about the right time in your career, right time in your life. If you had any insight or thoughts about that, especially having been an alum of a couple of our programs.
Yeah. So I would agree with Latrina about what she said. We in my with my group, we did do like decompression sessions after each session, just to kind of talk a little bit more amongst ourselves and that kind of thing. We also did happy hours. Groups of us or small groups of us would also, in between sessions, get together for happy hours and coffees and stuff to kind of talk things through. And then we did get like reading materials, that would help us through the different pieces of the session to kind of help put stuff in context and to kind of bring it all together for us. So that was helpful. And then I guess when I went through Women in Leadership, I was professionally was going through a big change, because I was in the middle of going through Women in Leadership. I was leaving the organization that I was with. So I think that really helped me kind of gave me a lot of skills that I needed in order to pull myself together and move on to the next thing that I wanted to do in my career. And then when I went through Leadership St. Louis, which was 2017, 18, I knew all along, really, throughout my career, I've always known that my end goal for my career was to run a small nonprofit that really spoke to me, that was an issue that I wanted to take up and sort of take the mantle up and be ahead of that and kind of deal with the issue and be sort of a leader in that issue that my organization was trying to deal with. And so I think you do, like for me, each program, I already knew that I was going into the program because I wanted to move myself along in my career, my evolution as a person, as a professional, and in my knowledge of things. And so I think that for me was really key. And I think for some of you, or all of that would be key, is to know that this is not just like another training session that you're going in to sort of learn a new skill or meet new people and that kind of thing. Like, you have to be really all in and intentional about why you're going into the program, and have some thoughts about what you want to do on the other side. And so for me, Leadership St. Louis was a vehicle. I knew what my other side, what I wanted it to look like. And so I knew that going through Leadership St. Louis would provide me with the knowledge, the skills, the experience that I would need to then be where I want to be on the other side. So that was really helpful. So I would just think about that, like, what is your end goal? If it's just to sort of meet new people and have a training or something that you can put on your list, this program probably isn't for you. But if you really are looking at evolution and growth in your career and in yourself, then this is probably for you.
I love that you mentioned intentionality, Muriel. It kind of ties into someone was asking about making a difference in St. Louis and in our greater St. Louis region. Yami has a ton of those stories. But if anybody really wants to raise their hand, Yami, I was thinking about how we're trying to connect the dots from program to program, but different things come up. And Julius B. Anthony helped us connect with some people and had a project of his own. Do you want to expand a little, Yami, or share something else?
That's a very good question, Laura. Many people who come through our program in terms of how they're making a difference in the region, many go on to serve on boards that they learned about through us exposing them to that board.
Yeah.
Many actually go on to different careers as a result of the exposure and the connectivity. Some even go on to run for political office as a result of going through our program. So it runs the gamut. And as Muriel and Matt and Latrina have talked about, it's about the intentionality. What are you looking to make a difference on a personal level, on a professional level, and a community level? And what do you need to be able to make that impactful difference? There isn't a place and space that I'll go to that I will not run into an LSL alum or a Women in Leadership alum, or even a Youth Leadership St. Louis alum. Arch City Defenders is run by one of our alums who went through our Youth Leadership St. Louis program. Rung, where Latrina works, is actually run by an alum, Leslie Gill, who is a graduate of our Youth Leadership St. Louis program. We have a number of LSL alums that have gone on to run for political office. There's actually 2 right now that are for a political office in town. So depends on what you want to do and what you need to be able to do it, and accessing the network that you need to do that with, and also being clear and understanding what the challenges are. So does that help, Laura?
She gave us a thumbs up.
Okay.
Also, this will conclude around 1 o'clock, and I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. Also to say that Yami provides a lot of good resources, speakers, connection, focus network, but the onus of what you want to do, and like Muriel was saying, that end goal, what brainchild comes out of it, what nonprofit comes out of it, what personal professional connections comes out of it is really determined by you. And there was another question about specific examples for what to read. Continue to drop those in the chat because this is a very engaged group. Also a few logistical things. So the locations aren't set ahead of time. Yami and I try to be really creative, but also current. So if something's newly opening, we've done a few behind the scene things even before the stadium opened, tours, going to Wild Care Park. So you can really dive into what's going on in the community. But I tell you that at least a week ahead of time, sometimes a month or 2 ahead of time. Again, just trying to keep things fresh. Nothing is prescribed. We have general topics that we like to cover. But Yami's really good about knowing what's going on grassroots and then changing things up. Also, your feedback is helpful. What you've heard in the community and sharing and things like that. So another thing, I'll drop a few things in the chat. Application is required, and then 2 recommendations. And then the interview is really easy, virtual 20 to 30 minutes on that selection date. So I'll be dropping some more things in the chat, as well as my contact and Yami's contact if you have logistical questions. Latrina, Matt, Muriel, if you want to drop your contact or your book recommendations or your organization into the chat as well, just so people can connect with you on LinkedIn or find you. But we are at 5 till. Any final questions, or Yami, anything you feel that we need to share before we let these good people go?
Well, I look forward to seeing all of you in community. Laura, I'm so excited to hear now that you are a Youth Leadership St. Louis alum. That is excellent. That's just the beauty of the programming of Focus. We dive deep, not just in our program days, but also in the forums that we hold. So I look forward to seeing all of you in community. If you have questions, please let Kate and I know. Please connect with Matt, Muriel, and Latrina. I'm sure they're collaborative projects that you could use more folks on any time of the day or
Yes.
the week. But it is really great to meet you all.